Lisa White, and I wanted to do my informative speech tonight. This is my family, and I'd like to talk to you tonight about raising kids. And I don't mean ghosts, I do mean children. One of the things I like to do as a parent is I like to read Family Circus. So, here's a cartoon I wanted to point out. And what I like about this is you'll notice that the dad is outside with his son, telling the son to go inside and help mom, and inside the mom is inside, and she's telling the son to go outside. So often, that is the case as parents, and we end up pushing our kids away and trying to get our jobs accomplished. But what I wanted to talk tonight is about some things that I have found that is important about raising kids. Parents are responsible to know what kids are doing right. We are responsible to model for them what we want them to become, and we are to be available to talk at any cost. So today, the three things I'd like to discuss are point number 1, don't major on the minors. Point number 2, monkey see, monkey do. And point number 3, be available. So one of the things that I came to understand, point number 1, don't major on the minors, is that when I see my child make a mistake, I often remember that I've made those same mistakes. And when I get an opportunity to share with my child my mistakes, then I become more vulnerable to my child. And often then my child is able to come to me and share things with me and talk with me. So that's my first point, is share your mistakes and become vulnerable with your child so that you can have good communication. The second thing I wanted to point out is that it's nice as a parent if I can notice what they did right. And often as humans, we notice what's wrong first before we notice what's right. For instance, when I come home from work, I will notice the dishes are not done. And before I have a complete breakdown and point out that the dishes aren't done, it's often better if I can interact with my child and talk about their day, see how things went for them, maybe find out if they did something right during the day. Perhaps they got their homework finished or they cleaned their room. So it's nice for me to notice what's right. And then I can bring up the fact that they didn't get their chores done. Often there's natural consequences for that, and that would be, hey, you're going to be needing to finish those dishes up after dinner, and if they don't make it to their scheduled activity, that's okay too. That would be a natural consequence for my child that has not completed their chores. So the first point was to keep things as light as possible and to make your focus on the positive aspects with your child and not just the negative. While working on your attitude, you'll be right where you need to be for point number 2. This is a simple concept, monkey see, monkey do. Kids are going to imitate what you do and not what you tell them to be. Studies have shown that kids are exposed to powerful behaviors and ideas on television. It's a good idea as a parent to limit the amount of exposure that your child has to those types of influences. A strong link has been established between kids that watch educational programs, and the link is made to those children are less aggressive, more cooperative, more imaginative than kids who watch the cartoons, the action, and the game shows and the movies. So again, consider limiting those other influences outside of the family. Consistency is very important between what you teach and preach and then what you do. So being an example is very, very important. It's important that if you are caring for the neighbor next door by mowing her lawn and respecting authority, your child's going to be doing the same. The 3 keys about this: example, example, example. Be an example for your child, which leads me to point number 3, be available. One thing I want to tell parents is throw your calendar and your PDA out the door and talk. This is the easiest and still the hardest point of all. Sometimes I've had the best conversations with my kids about 11 or 11:30 at night, so late nights are often a common time to have conversations with your kids, especially your teens. And also, conversations come in many shapes and many sizes. Sometimes a teachable moment happens when you're in the car, shuttling your child back and forth to an activity. Perhaps when you least expect it, they're going to open up and talk. So when you're in the car, throw away those earbuds and turn off that radio. Have a conversation with your child. Talk about what you would like to do in the future, vacations you'd like to have, your favorite songs, what did they do at school today. Just be available. So today I've shared the 3 important things that I can remember as I'm raising my children, and I hope you can too. It's necessary that you know what your kids are doing that is right. It's also necessary to model the character traits that they should have and always be available to talk. Herman Killebrew, a baseball Hall of Famer, said this about his parents. My father used to play with my mother, my brother, and I in the yard. Mother would come out and say, "You're tearing up the grass." My father would reply, "We're not raising grass, we're raising boys." Keep that in mind as you think about raising your kids.